Hey, good evening. Thank you for coming back to another Tony Montana video. Just going to try to gather the two videos I just made in Spanish and translate them into English. It's very brief, I guess. Some of the comments, people are going back and forth in comments about the standard of the breed. Some saying that there is no standard of the breed, some saying there is. Just want to definitely clarify that for people. Obviously, the American People Terrier is a working breed, so like many other working breeds, the number one thing is that they work, not that they look a certain way specifically. They're basically the look of the dog is a trickle down result of what they were doing, breeding for results, breeding for working attributes. So the working type of dogs, the look or the standard, the phenotype was actually the end result. It wasn't the main purpose of making the breed. Remember, these are working dogs, so the look, the standard look, became a result of them working a certain way, them being able to work a certain way, a different way. Some things, for example, would be the size of the head, size of the snout, the length of the snout, obviously the size of the teeth, the ability to breathe, hence the snout, the intelligence, hence the size of the head. And obviously, if some people believe it or not, also believe that that the size of the head also helps with the bite. Uh, you know, you may believe it or not. If you listen to a lot of these scientists talking about dinosaurs or all extinct animals, they break it down how powerful their jaws were by measuring the skull size and the jaw and all that. So there has to be something to it, but that also the size of the front and the back, uh, the height versus width, or rather the height versus uh, length. They all really matter obviously turn quick side to side quickly, to basically do and try to do things with the dogs. The dogs do things, I guess, best. So like MMA fighters, we know that MMA fighters are better if they have long limbs. Long limb fighters are obviously, everything else being the same, will be better fighters because of the long limbs. Same with boxers, long limb boxers. Obviously, if you have big hands, that will also come into play. Same thing with the animals. The animals look a certain way because of that, because of what we strive for. Now, some people say that, well, even the pitbulls, some of them look different. It's not the standard. You're not up to the standard. And again, the standard is a reminder. This is just what the dog should be, what the ideal look, what they think the ideal look would be for the dog to perform their best. So and these are ratios. It's not like certain height. It's not a certain weight. It's ratios between, like, for example, snout versus head, height versus length, different things that they believe, by looking at and studying dogs that were great performers. You know, yes or not. Sometimes a lot of politics are involved when they're picking the dog they're doing, but at the end of the day, they're all estimations, all assumptions and beliefs of what the dog should look like, uh, in order for that dog, that body, to perform at its best in all types. Again, the length of the dog would help it out, side to side movements if they have to turn quickly, blah blah blah. But yes, even within the American Pitbull Terrier, you have different looks. People aren't really 100% looking based on body type or based on body structure. They're gauging and basing it on on how they do, how do they perform on whatever they're doing. So individuals are their dogs are mostly into weight pulling. They'll start looking a little different. In contrast, dogs that were bred from game bred lines, game bred, grain bred, back, top and bottom, will look a little different. A lot of us, a lot of we can tell a regular bred to a game bred. There's a little difference in that look. I personally notice a lot of these dogs are are becoming like a little. I don't know if they're becoming or they have been. I wasn't around the 70s or 80s, or I wasn't around there. So, but the front of these dogs it's a little lower, tiny bit lower than the back. So they're, rather than being this way, they're like a little bit like this. You get me? And kind of this way, when they're running towards, it's great because of the dogs that want to go and up. You get me? So I like, he does that. He has it. I've had other dogs that came from those type of lines, and they were a little bit like that. So it isn't exactly how the standard says, the ADB standard diagram shows. It's not the same, but at the same time, perhaps I personally prefer that. I'm not saying complete, like a flat tire in the front. I'm not talking about that. Just a slight, because of how the historically speaking and educationally, how the dog used to run to the other dog and go from bottom to up, looking for, again, this is all educational, historical. This is how the dog developed. We go from the like lower to higher to try to grab the neck or grab the chest this way. So it just, obviously it doesn't need to be too much, just enough to give it an advantage against a regular dog. Obviously, being a regular dog, being in the wild or loose, or the breeds, because it's set up a certain way, and obviously you don't want too much of that, because then you have joint issues that you might have to, because of the different body weight. But that's why you have specialized dogs for specialized jobs. So like that, the bulldog, the snout they used to have, and all that used to be for protecting itself. Even though it would breathe harder, it won't be able to run like a greyhound, by no means. But anyway, yeah. So this is just a little bit about the standard, the American Pitbull Terrier, and how there is a standard, but obviously we always have to look at the performance side to basically guide us into what it should look like. And we also have dogs like the strain of the family Shorty Cowboy, for example, is the one that it's a deformed dog, and these dogs produce deformed dogs, and because they perform to a certain level, they grabbed interest from many people that disregard the standard, physical standard, the phenotype, because the dog and a lot of the dogs that came from that dog have worked, have performed. I would say that I would not want to breed into that. I would not want to have one. But congratulations to those individuals that had success with those dogs. But I would say that in the long term, you're getting yourself into a hole, especially if you're doubling up, especially if you're inbreeding on a Shorty Cowboy strain, for obvious reasons. So anyway, leave a comment if you're interested about this topic, and I'll talk to you another time. This is Tony Montana. Have a good night.